Right.
Yeah. Are we all ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna just get refresh this.
And then right way hugs the right way round.
Yeah. And I'm just actually done. There we go, you can see.
Lovely.
So hopefully we'll be able to put me put into there.
Perfect.
Right, we're slowly getting there.
We're warming up. Which we're doing this, just the two of us, with the help of 3 dogs.
Yeah.
So technology, questions, whatever we need to do.
So comments I can see here now instead of us going,
Sorry.
sorry.
And any nonsense or tip-tapping around you can hear, that is the dogs. We are ensconced together in the kitchen. Right, let's see if we can...
Sorry, you can hear.
Yeah, you talk it. Have you got that? How can you turn that off? You can put it on mute, could you?
That would mute the
music.
technology is going really well today.
Now, what you might hear in the background is the fact, some little summery music, would you say, Vic? It's feeling quite, and we are curtains drawn, we are cozied in, it is firework night, that's why we are doing it tonight, because we want firework night to be a positive experience for our dogs. So we thought, what better way than have a time in the kitchen, curtains drawn, doors shut, music in the background. And the reason it's a sunny reggae music is because it has been proven that reggae music is the most relaxing music. I know there was this whole thought about would it be classical, would it be reggae, and I know Classic FM are doing their classic music, which is just a fabulous idea. Well done them. We've gone for the reggae route.
Yeah.
Because you know what, and I guess it's because there is that regular beat, isn't there, I guess?
Yeah, they think it sort of mimics the heartbeat and things like that. So a study was done by the University of Glasgow with the SSPCA. So they were testing different genres of music on the shelter dogs just to see which ones would calm more. And although classical did work, they found that reggae and soft rock yeah. So they found that after a while dogs essentially got a bit bored of classical, so it did work and all of them do work. However, who doesn't love reggae? At the moment,
especially on the cold night, actually. I'm feeling quite summery already. I wish I'd kept our t-shirts on now. So what are we making tonight? We are making bonfire night bangers and mash. And we're going to make our bangers out of our beautiful cookable outdoor red pork. Remember, we use the cookable because our working dog raw has bone in it and we don't cook bone. So I'm going to just slip that off there. So we have that in our lovely package, so it's really easy. The dogs are having a little roof around in the back of the kitchen. So once again, scoop that out into the bowl. And just like we did with the burgers, really, we're going to add just a little bit of oat flour. And we use that, and to be honest, you can use a really sort of fine porridge mix, can't you, as long as there's nothing else
yeah,
else
we tend to use oat flour just because a lot of dogs can't tolerate wheat and things like that in high quantities. Small amounts, you know, in treats and things like that is fine if your dog can tolerate it. However, we're just sort of making it accessible to a lot more. So as we're doing this as sort of like a main meal, just removing that issue by using oat flour, which is a lot easier for a lot of dogs to digest.
Keeps everyone happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, equally, you could use just a plain pork mince. The reason we want to make our own sausages or our own burgers is because we don't want onion in there. We want to keep it, we're quite happy to get some lovely veg in there, so you could, you know, you could grate up some other vegetables if you wanted to, you could put, I mean, who doesn't love a pork and apple sausage? You know, and you could get a lovely bit of apple. I've got two little sniffy noses down here already. We've not even started cooking yet, boys. So tonight we've got with us little Peanut, and we've got Fletcher, and we've got Raggy over on the rug. He knows it's not worth getting up until things start cooking.
This is Peanut's first cook along, so he's all excited.
So, and in there as well goes the egg, because that is just going to help it bind.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're not butchers. I haven't got a sausage making machine.
No, if you do, go fancy, go all out. But,
go for it. Yeah. But use the lovely natural casings. That's what we want.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to go anything sort of, you know.
Oh, Lorraine Child is watching.
Oh, Lorraine! Oh, is Harley there as well?
Yes,
oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And four-legged foodie said that's a good distraction from fireworks, which it definitely is. I know. Last night we were all hankered down because where it was Diwali, they're my neighbours. They were doing an amazing firework display, and they kindly let me know that, you know, timing and everything, which was really sweet. However, Peanut isn't a big lover of fireworks, so we kind of had reggae blaring. It sounded like I was having a party, just me and Peanut.
Caribbean party. Yeah, actually, that could be a new way of spending the 5th of November, couldn't it? You know, forget fireworks, let's actually have a Caribbean party.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that idea, actually. I really do.
Yeah. So we're listening to royalty-free reggae because we don't want to get in trouble.
No.
So yeah. So it's not as great song as some of, you know, as
some of your faves.
Yeah.
Some of your. In fact, and there's even some Bob Marley words up on the wall there.
Very fitting.
Very fitting. Very fitting. Okay, so I've mixed my little mixture up. It's looking pretty good. I mean, you could add a bit extra flour, but we did prepare some earlier as well, because obviously otherwise last time I ate some and it's burnt my mouth. So,
and Jarvis is licking his lips and mentioned the sausages, so you'll have to give it a go with his spoon.
Fantastic. Now, of course, because we're not making it with a proper sausage machine and things like that, it can be a little bit fiddly to make sausages. I'm gonna stick to cocktail sausages, because of course we're nearly near Christmas as well, aren't we? So we could double up. You could make a double batch and have that.
Yeah, and I think if you've got a bigger dog, but you just want to make sure that, you know, they're not going to just inhale a whole sausage, as some like to do when they pinch it off the barbecue. So sometimes doing it smaller, or if you can't be bothered to make small ones, just cut it up before. But whichever shape, we're not going to judge the shape of your sausage.
Or even patties, you know. It doesn't have to be. We've made some fantastic burgers, didn't we? So, so you could go, but you know, we promised bangers and mash. So bangers and mash is going to be. It really is. Yeah. And speaking of which, okay, so what are we doing, Vicky, in our mash? We've got some vegetables, which we started cooking over on the Raven earlier.
Yeah,
so
we have a range of root veggies instead of your typical potato. So we're using pumpkin, because luckily at this time of year we have lots of leftover pumpkin. Butternut squash and some carrots.
Yeah. You could put parsnip in there, which makes a lovely sweet mash. We've used celeriac before as well. That's lovely to mash. Yeah, you can always
mix in some other veggies in there. So we really wanted to use pumpkin because it's a great sort of fibre. It's really good for their tummies. Really helps bind everything. You know, makes it all sort of firm up if they've got a bit of an upset tummy.
Well, that's the point I was going to make. It's really, you read with interest actually that pumpkin, and you can get the tinned pumpkin now quite easily, although you've got to be careful that it's not pumpkin pie filling, because then you've got sugar and everything else. I'm going to move this. So you read quite often about people reaching for pumpkin when there is an upset tummy, and I was thinking, oh, why do they do that? What makes pumpkin appropriate for upset tummies?
So it's to do with the soluble fibre that's in the pumpkin, so it helps draw out the moisture. So essentially, if you've got a dog that's got a bit of a runny tummy, it sort of helps soak up that moisture and then make everything firm again.
Talk about poo, but it's
and then on the other side of thing, it's also good, so the fibre from it can help have the opposite effect. So if you've got a dog that's a little bit constipated or a bit bummed out, Bit of pumpkin, again, can help loosen things up. So it's a good all-rounder.
And you could, I guess you could, with those issues, reach for another squash, another out of the squash family.
Yeah.
But we did a little bit of research, and actually pumpkin absolutely is the best. So I think, yes, they're seasonal, but if you can find, keep a tin of pumpkin in the cupboard, checking the ingredients, then actually it's quite a good staple, isn't it?
Or at, Halloween time, as we've just been through, stock up on a load of pumpkins, cook it all up, puree it, and then put it in a nice freeze tray in the freezer. So any time that you might need pumpkin, then you've got it ready to hand. Dogs don't time their upset tummies at Halloween time, exactly. So it's always good to have a backup.
Exactly.
Everyone in November group is looking forward to this.
Oh, hi guys! Yeah. I don't remember who I'm waving at. I'm not waving here, I'm waving here.
And somebody asked, are there any veggies to steer clear of?
Yes.
Your usual onions, and then tomatoes you need to be careful of. Garlic again can be great. You just need to be careful of dosage, so you just don't want to overdo it, so avoiding that. Potato is alright, however, it's extremely starchy of white potato, so you just use a bit sparingly sometimes. You just don't need to overdo it, with that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And then again, with any veg, remove seeds, remove stones. Some of the veg you sort of need to cook down just to sort of break it down for them, because dogs can't break down cellulose. So
it's interesting, isn't it? They can
down.
digest bones, they can just digest raw meat, but you put a bit of a root veg in front of them, and it just literally goes to the food,
exactly.
the digestive process with
I'm
it.
going to get the veg and get that.
Right, these are cooking nicely. Now, the other thing that's worth saying, we touched a little bit on seeds and things like that. Now, we came up with the idea, didn't we, of drain your veg, but don't drain the water down the sink. Because, of course, we often use a vegetable steamer, but we're sort of running out of room and surface to put our steamer on. But, of course, if you're boiling your veg, and obviously because we're doing it for the dogs, we're just not using any salt or anything, but save your vegetable water, because that's full of goodness as well. Now, use it to make a gravy, or actually, again, get the old ice cube tray out, make some lovely ice cubes with your vegetable water, and then you've got those in the freezer, and just popping that on, the dinner going forward. It just adds another little boost. And if you're doing it with your lovely coloured veg, then you just eat the rainbow. That's what we talk about. So if you've got some leafy green veg in the food that you're giving them, by being able to top it off with some lovely orange vegetable water, I mean, what's not to love? And it's just going to give them that extra little bit of boost of goodness as well, isn't it?
Now, I know we had a comment from our last cook-along about cats. Now, obviously they don't eat the veg, but if you wanted to make the sausages for the cats,
absolutely.
However, I will say cats are very, very finicky when it comes to texture. So you could present them with the exact same food in a different shape, and they go, "What are you giving me? What is this?"
Absolutely.
So you're welcome to make sausages for your cats and they might enjoy it, but don't be too disheartened if they're the type that you could slave over a stove and they go, "No, thank you."
I'd rather have it raw. Obviously, it's that texture. Or maybe we make an array of sausages and burgers, patties and sausages, and that works well.
Whichever your cat prefers. So
The other thing I was going to mention when we came to talk about seeds and removing seeds was going back to the good old pumpkin again, wasn't it? So we've read, we look at natural worming treatments, because again we're trying to steer clear of putting sort of anything that isn't natural into your dog's bodies where you can possibly help it. And so we looked up, people talk about pumpkin seeds being something which is absolutely great to either protect against worming or try and maybe kill worms. And we said, well, is it a case of like a rabbit's ear? You're giving the food to the dog and it's sort of like dragging the worms out, but it isn't. Actually, there is, now we've written the word down, it's an amino acid.
It's curcubitin.
Curcubitin, we think it is.
Yeah.
We asked Google how how to pronounce it, and he didn't do very well either. But
Yeah,
what it
very
does, what is really interesting, is this amino acid, which is in the pumpkin seed. So you're going to want to grind. You know, I imagine you dry them and then grind them down.
Yeah, they suggest grinding it down so it's sort of like a powder and then feeding it.
So you can sprinkle that on the top of your dog's food or what have you.
And then what it does, it's supposed to paralyse
the
worms.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, it might be a great, you know, thing to use as a sort of a preventative measure, just adding it in. So that's another good tip for, you know, obviously where we've been cutting up all these pumpkins, save the seeds.
Yeah, save the seeds. Because again, we don't like waste. We don't like waste. So we have got some beautiful, Peanut is sat here waiting for it. So we've got some beautiful veg mash. And we quite like a sort of robust mash. I mean, the other thing you could do, we nearly did it today, you could add a lovely bit of natural yogurt into your mash. You know, just like you'd mash your potatoes with a bit of butter and milk, or I do a lot of butter and milk. You know, why not, if you wanted to, or just pop a little bit of natural yogurt on the top, because again, your yogurt is very good for your dog's immune system, which is in the gut.
Yeah,
and
some kefir.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be dairy, obviously. If we go back to that again, not all dogs can tolerate dairy. So do use a yogurt which is maybe coconut based or what have you, which works really, really well. Now, my sausages are looking fab. I'll just show you, they stayed sausage shape as well, but they are super hot. So we made some earlier, which don't look quite so good. We tried to make them in the oven. And they
they
weren't quite so good, were they? They got a bit stuck to the foil.
So you could make it in the oven, just be aware.
Grease-proof, I think, is the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there we are. I'm just making almost a little bonfire pile with my sausages and mash. And now I think Peanut's going to be incredibly cross because actually I'm going to be the first one to have this.
So this is the.
So there we go, a little bonfire pile. So let's just have a look. Let's see. Now, obviously, I've not put any salt in my veg either, so I've been very, very healthy in that respect.
You might want to add salt for yourself if
you know what? You don't need salt. Beautiful sweet pumpkin, lovely, lovely carrot, and of course, fantastic sausages.
Nice. Did you like some?
Have you going to try some, guys?
Pick you up.
You can have these so they're not hot on your little mouth. Here's Peanut. Oh, that's good. You can't have the mash because that's too hot at the moment. And Fletcher's, good boy. Oh, Raggy's coming over.
Oh, they're all coming over.
Okay, so we are now, here you are, my darling. Good boy. So we've got sausage and mash for our tea tonight, everybody. But what comes after dinner? If you eat all your dinner, you get dessert. And we decided to do some baking this time, haven't we, Vic?
Yes.
Over to you, my darling.
So we're making some nice calming biscuits because we thought on theme firework nights. These are great little treats. So at Hub we have wonderful herb blends for various different regions and things. So a lovely herbalist, Caroline Hearn, from Hedgerow House, she produces wonderful herb blends, and we've worked with her to create some. So we're using our calming herb blend, which has a mix of
a whole list of things.
Yeah.
There's so many things we needed to write those down as well, so we're going to read that. What's interesting, so what we're using obviously is a base of oat flour again.
Yeah.
We are going to use a little bit of ordinary flour this time, just to help it bind, don't we?
You know, in treats, it's such a small amount of their daily intake that it's fine, unless you have a dog that is sensitive to gluten and things like that. Use an alternative instead. We're just using it to help sort of bind, because sometimes with oat flour it doesn't always bind it as well together. So it's just
we're just using as least as we can get away with, really.
Yeah, it's a small amount, and just, you know, to help flour the side and everything. But you could always try, you know, without and things. That's perfectly fine.
So obviously the biscuits are great to use on bonfire night. So you're going to get cracking. We'll just talk through some of the
I'm
herbal
just using 100 grams of oat flour, and then 50 grams of rolled oats. I really like organic oats, just to keep it quite nice and natural. And then a little bit of the regular flour, so probably works out about
not even 50 grams.
No, not even 50 grams.
Exactly.
And then just
blend it together. While you're blending that, let's talk about the other ingredients that are going into it. So we obviously, again, we love our herbs. We have the most amazing blends available, which work. Now, this is the earliest medicine that we had. It's completely natural, it's plant-based. However, it doesn't mean you don't have to think about dose.
So this is our nice herbal blend. So we've got like chamomile.
So we've got chamomile in. The issue with chamomile we discussed earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Don't just make your dog a chamomile tea. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not, just because it's a herb, it doesn't mean that you can just go, here, have a dose. And there are some beautiful dog-friendly teas that you can have.
Which is fine if it's dog-friendly and made for
out.
dogs. A lot of chamomile tea is often mixed with a lot of other botanicals, which might not be dog-friendly.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure that you follow the dosage, because in high amounts it can actually be toxic. So don't just whip up a thing of chamomile tea just to think
that's going to
help calm them down. Chamomile is wonderful, has some great benefits, but just follow the dosage for your dog.
And what's really interesting, having worked with Caroline, but also we worked with Susan Andresia as well, who is the chair of the Herbal Veterinary Society. And basically, you think about how these things work together. So you think, well, calming, is that just about relaxing? So is that just about something which is going to make you feel a little bit sort of laid back? It's not just that. It's about, if you're nervous, if you're stressy, if something's made you jump, where do you feel it? In your stomach. So what some of these herbs are doing, whether it's chamomile, which supports the nervous system and the digestive tract, whether it's fennel seed, which is amazing for indigestion and bloating as well, these things are actually supporting you in the gut as much as trying to create, almost sort of a laid back sort of feel. There is also sort of marshmallow root in there, which again really is like a soluble fibre as well, so that's supporting everything, and chia seeds too. So it's just a lovely blend of very natural, well balanced herbs. So just say, don't just whack a pot of chamomile tea on. It is about doing it carefully, but there is so much information out there. Just look up that information as well.
So what I just added in is some coconut oil. Just again help bind it. Coconut oil is great as well, as we know. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. We use the organic with Mother, so great probiotics in there.
Again, supporting digestion and things.
Yeah, it's a nice calming doggy sort of
bedtime biscuit.
Digestive, but
it's a bedtime biscuit
very nice.
as well.
And then we're using some pureed apple, which we have blended. We've left it quite chunky because it's quite nice.
Want it to be interesting.
Yeah, and it adds a bit of sweetness to the biscuit. Not that I'm sure they probably won't notice, but it's just a nice thing.
Some might notice the sweetness. A Fletcher would notice the sweetness, wouldn't you?
Yes. Now, if you've got a dog that can't tolerate egg, then just add in some extra apple puree, because it does make a good replacement for egg. As a vegan, I tend to use apple sort of sauce and things like that in a cake, as it's a good replacement. So, fun fact there. But just going to mix that all.
I guess you probably put a little bit of water in there as well.
Yes, I will need some water just to help sort of bind it all together. So just going to crack the egg in there.
And the reggae still playing in the background.
We're
all feeling quite relaxed actually now.
Yeah,
and that's without the use of alcohol, Vicky. It's Friday night. And I've not opened the wine. I've not got my gin on the go yet either. So
no, but can't hear the fireworks or anything. And Peanut.
Everybody is
so
laid out. Peanut's balanced on the back of the settee.
Yeah.
Raggy's on his bed, and Fletcher's just waiting here, just in case we might drop a morsel, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to make that into a ball, aren't we? We're going to sort of really form that, if we can, with a little bit of water.
Yes, I'm going to get some water.
Shall I do the tap while you bring the bowl across? Right?
Yeah.
A bit more.
Yeah.
This is when you go, oh,
just
a little bit more, and then too much. Too much flour, then you go flour.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. If it's a bit dry, add a bit more water. If a bit too much, just add a smidge more flour.
Absolutely.
You can kind of just keep adding to it. So So it's all coming together. Get your hands nice and
then just
dirty.
like any other biscuit, I mean, I did have somewhere some bone-shaped cutters. I had butterfly-shaped cutters. Could I find them for tonight? No, I couldn't. So what we've done is we've made good Blue Peter standards.
Yeah.
We've made some earlier, and what we've done is made some flower shapes. But what's really nice is just to do, when you're making biscuits yourself, of course, you can make them the size that works for your dog.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 different size biscuits here.
Yeah.
We've got Raggy, who is 54 kilos and the size of a horse. These are his biscuits. Fletcher is medium size, and just like, yes, he's raised his eyebrows at me. And then we've got little peanut size biscuits on the end. And you can see, with the mix of beautiful herbs in there, you've got the pieces of apple, you've used a lovely oat flour, a nice free-range egg to bind it together. You can see the dough there. It's really nice to work with as well.
I'm going to just grab the flour from underneath. Flour your surface.
So there we are. And actually, the other cheap thing is I do love a bit of greaseproof paper.
Oh, yes.
You know, because then not only do you not have to wash your tray up, and that greaseproof paper gets used everywhere, whether it's cooking our sausages in the oven or whether it's cooking our biscuits on a tray. So as you can see, beautiful dough. We've got our tray ready.
So we're going to roll it out.
Start rolling it out.
If you want it, you know, go to the thickness that you would like, depending on the size treats, and then you just keep going until all the dough is done. But you can see, I mean, it smells amazing. The apples
It actually tastes amazing as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because we've got egg in it, it meant that Vicky couldn't try. I'm going to have one to try. It's got an egg in it.
I did. Well, I was going to make it without, and then
it just didn't come together quite so well.
Yeah, I think we needed a bit more apple sauce, and then I think it would have. But I think just the ease of this video.
So there we are. That's our little biscuit. So we have our beautiful Bonfire night sausage and mash to start with in our cosy little kitchen, away from the fireworks. And then we're going to finish the evening with our
a nice
beautiful
biscuit.
chamomile and
these
her
are
calming biscuit.
great as well, like you said, for a nice bedtime biscuit if you want something, and then you know exactly what's going in there and things. So this is just sort of a nice addition. Alongside, there's lots of other things you can do for dogs at firework night, and you know, just create a nice safe haven for them, nice den if they want to go hide.
It is about hunkering down together. I mean, the relationship that you have with your dog really is going to come into fruition when you're in a situation like this. And the thing is, if you're feeling a little bit anxious about what's going to happen, then they are going to breed off that anxiety.
Yeah, and you know, it's hard not to get a bit anxious if you've got a dog that just really doesn't like them. It's just about trying to keep calm, make a plan. Take them out before,
in daylight.
You know.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to set off fireworks, and just because there's some people around you, tell them timings, and then you know we can't stop people sadly from doing fireworks themselves. So it's
it is having your plan, isn't it? It's your relationship with your dog, having your plan, and just trying to get some. You know, let's have a positive evening together. Like I mean, the dogs love hanging out together. We love hanging out together. And we're just so grateful that you'd like to share it with us.
Yes, yeah. So if you have a go at any of these recipes, then do tag us in them because
we'd love to see it, and particularly the biscuits. And like I say, whether you go for a calming blend, we have mobility blend herbs, we have digestive. We have all sorts, so you can literally take this base recipe and really go to town. We talked about putting some little bits of fresh apple on the top.
Yeah.
You can make it a bit cheaty and get some really natural apple puree instead of trying to puree up apples yourself. If you've got windfalls, great way of using windfalls in the garden. Again, we don't like to waste, but it's been it's been fantastic. And I don't know if we've got any other questions before we move.
No, I think we're all good.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. Do go and look at your reggae, because I am feeling it works a treat. I'm feeling so well. I think we have to reggae each time we do a cook along, and it brings a little bit of sunshine as well back into the evening, which is lovely.
Should we give the dogs?
Yes, I think it's Peanut's time. Raggy, can you help me? Oh, he's fast asleep. I think you might do. Let's see what Peanut. This is the first time Peanut's had one of our homemade biscuits. So please let him like them.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Oh yes, the peanut seal of approval. How about Fletcher?
So yummy.
Oh no, I've given you peanut size one. Yeah, oh my goodness, he's chomping into that as well. Thank you ever so much for watching,
thank
guys. Do pop online, but we will save the video and we will create some little recipe cards as well. So
Yes,
we've
we
got
did
everything.
share the recipe card in our Facebook group. I can share it on Instagram, or do get in touch. But yeah, we'll be sharing the recipes everywhere. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely, restful evening. Stay cozy and stay safe. And get the reggae out.
yeah.